Long ago in a distant village called Oduma, there lived a girl named Abeni. She had been blind since birth, and when she was just a little child, her family abandoned her. "She's useless," they had said. "What can a blind girl do?" They left her alone in a crumbling hut at the edge of the village. The hut leaned like a tired tree, and it groaned whenever the wind blew. Inside there was nothing but a worn mat laid on a dusty floor. Abeni sat there every day, hungry and cold, with no one to love her or call her name kindly. Sometimes, kind-hearted villagers would stop by. "Abeni, here's a little food," they would say, handing her bits of boiled yam, a small bowl of soup, or a few roasted ground nuts. Some of the women even helped her bathe, or gave her old wrappers to wear. "Poor child," they whispered. "May the spirits protect you." Though Abeni couldn't see their faces, she knew each person by their smell and the music of their voice. Her world was full of darkness, but her heart was full of light. Whenever someone helped her, Abeni would smile softly and say, "Thank you. May the gods bless your hands." But most days, she was alone. She would sit quietly, listening to the village breathe, the children laughing in the fields, the sound of pounding yam, the clinking of calabashes, the gossip by the stream. She wished she could see it all, but all she had was silence and blackness. So Abeni's life continued, lonely, hungry, and forgotten by the family that should have cherished her. But even in pain, she remained gentle and grateful. Her true story was only just beginning. In the same village lived a man named Gaji. He was tall, with arms like tree trunks and a chest like a carved drum. But his heart was dark, and everyone in Oduma knew it. Gaji was a troublemaker. He crept where he didn't belong. He touched girls when no one was watching, quick pinches, low pats, and shameless stares. He would laugh it off, saying, "I'm only playing." But everyone knew his kind of play was poison. One day, a girl named Zuri, the daughter of the palm wine tapper, was returning from the stream. She carried a heavy clay pot of water on her head, her bare feet dusty from the road. Just as she passed near Gaji's hut, he stepped into her path with a crooked grin. "Zuri," he said, "you look sweet today." Zuri tried to walk past him, but Gaji blocked her way. Without warning, he reached out, pressing his palm against her back and brushing her chest. Zuri gasped, stumbling as her pot nearly toppled. Shame burned her cheeks. She turned and ran all the way home, tears falling as Gaji laughed behind her like a hyena in the dark. When Zuri told her father, Baba Miko, he was furious. "He will not get away with this," he roared, grabbing his staff and storming toward Gaji's hut. The villagers gathered, whispering, "At last someone has stood up to him." But Gaji was ready. With one swift movement, he snatched Baba Miko's staff and shoved the old man to the ground. "Next time I'll do worse," he snarled. After that day, fear spread like wildfire. Mothers warned their daughters, "If you see Gaji, turn your face and walk away." Even the elders began to stay silent, afraid of Gaji's temper and strength. Gaji walked the village like a king with no crown, untouchable, proud, and dangerous. But as the old ones say, no one is too strong for the spirits, and even the deepest. Shadow must one day face the light. Meanwhile, Abeni had grown. Though her eyes remained closed to the world, she had blossomed into a young woman of breathtaking beauty. Her skin was smooth like river clay, and her smile could melt even the hardest heart. But her loveliness was hidden, buried beneath torn clothes and tangled hair that hung like dry straw around her face. One sunny afternoon, a kind woman named Mama Fola came to visit her. "My child," Mama Fola said gently, "today we will make you feel like the queen you are." She brought warm water and soap and bathed Abeni's body with care. She combed her hair, weaving it into neat braids. Then she dressed her in a soft wrapper of blue and gold. From a basket she pulled roasted yam and palm oil, placing it in Abeni's hands. "Eat, my daughter," she said, smiling. "You deserve joy too." For the first time in what felt like forever, Abeni laughed. Her voice was soft and sweet, like a flute playing after the rain. Her skin glowed. Her beauty was no longer hidden. "Thank you, Mama Fola," she whispered, her hands trembling with happiness. But not everyone who saw Abeni that day had a good heart. From the nearby bushes, Gaji stood watching. His eyes narrowed as he saw her laughter, her glowing face, her peaceful joy. "She is beautiful," he muttered. A slow, wicked grin crawled across his face. "I must have her." That night Gaji tossed on his mat, unable to sleep. Abeni's laughter haunted his ears. The picture of her smooth skin and quiet smile burned in his mind. His desire grew like a fire no water could put out. "I will make her mine," he whispered, his voice sharp like a knife in the dark. Before the night grew too deep, Gaji went to the food vendor near the square and bought a steaming hot meal. With it in hand, he made his way to Abeni's lonely hut. Inside, Abeni sat quietly in the dark, humming softly to herself when she heard footsteps. "Abeni, it's me, Gaji," he said gently, his voice wrapped in fake kindness. "I brought you some food." Abeni smiled. "Thank you, Gaji. May the gods bless your heart." She ate the food, thankful for what seemed like a generous gesture, but as she took her final bite, Gaji's tone shifted. "You're welcome, Abeni," he said, his voice now cold and sharp. Then, without warning, he lunged at her and pressed a hand over her mouth. Abeni struggled, but her small frame was no match for his strength. "Please, no!" She tried to scream, but her voice was muffled. Gaji ignored her cries. With a heart as cold as stone, he violated her there on the dusty floor of her crumbling home. When he was done, he left silently, disappearing into the night, leaving her broken, trembling, and alone. Abeni cried until her voice was hoarse. Her tears soaked the earth beneath her mat. With a voice filled with pain, she cried out, "May the spirits judge you, Gaji. May your heart never know peace." But Gaji, as cruel as ever, didn't care. He had done the same to other girls, those who could see and those who couldn't. No one had punished him. No curse had ever caught him. He walked freely, laughing like nothing had happened. But the spirits, they do not sleep. Abeni couldn't bear to stay in Oduma. Her soul was wounded, her body trembling. That night, while the village slept beneath the calm moon, she took her walking stick and stepped outside. Barefoot, she moved into the unknown. Her feet touched the cold soil, and each step was a struggle. She fell often, her knees and palms scraping against the rocky ground, but she kept moving. "I must leave," she whispered, her breath shaking. "I must get away." The forest stood silent, the only sound being the tap of her stick against the path. Then she heard footsteps. "Who's there?" she called, her voice thin with fear. A calm voice answered. "It's me, Koyi. I'm just a traveler passing through." Koyi stepped closer and saw her face, streaked with tears, her clothes torn. "What are you doing out here alone, sister?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. Through sobs, Abeni told him everything, her blindness, her abandonment, and the evil Gaji had done. Koyi's heart broke for her. "Don't cry, Abeni," he whispered. "You are not alone anymore. I will take you far from this pain." He gently helped her up and led her through the woods. Together, they walked away from Oduma, the village where her story had begun and ended. Time passed. Gaji was no longer the proud man he used to be. He had left Oduma behind, settling in a distant village where no one knew his name. There he married and tried to begin again. But joy did not follow him. After many months, his wife still had no child. "What's wrong with you?" she shouted, one day. "Why can't we have a baby?" Shamed and angry, she left him. He married again, and again there was no child. His second wife too packed her things and left. "You are cursed, Gaji. I want nothing to do with you." In despair, Gaji sought out herbalists and native priests. He spent all he had on rituals, charms, and sacrifices. Everywhere, he was told the same thing. You must find forgiveness. The curse cannot lift unless you make peace with the one you wronged. But who could that be? One day he went to a powerful elder, a herbalist whose name was whispered in reverence. After hearing Gaji's confession, the man stared into a bowl of sacred water. I see it clearly, the herbalist said. You hurt a blind girl, named Abeni. Only her forgiveness can break the chains around your soul. Gaji's heart sank. He remembered her, the night, the screams, the tears. He had buried it all, but now it rose like smoke in his chest. Where can I find her? He asked, his voice unsteady. You must search, the herbalist replied. Until you find her, your suffering will only grow. And so Gaji returned to Oduma. His heart thumped as he stepped through the familiar paths. The village had changed, but the shadows of his past clung to every corner. He knocked from door to door. Do you know Abeni, the blind girl? Some villagers shook their heads. She's dead, one said with pity. She left long ago. Never came back. Gaji felt his knees weaken. If Abeni was gone, the curse would never leave him. Just as he was about to give up, he saw a familiar face. Zuri, the palm wine tapper's daughter. Zuri, he called, his voice weak. It's me. Gaji. She turned and narrowed her eyes. What do you want? She snapped. Why are you here? I've come to beg, he said, head lowered. Do you know where Abeni is? I must find her. Zuri stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then she let out a long sigh. Come with me, she said quietly. She led him down a winding forest path. The path wound through the forest, stretching far beyond the borders of Oduma. Zuri walked ahead, her steps steady, her silence heavy. After some time, they reached a grand mansion. Its walls shimmered in the sun, tall and proud like a palace of light. Gaji's jaw dropped. His voice came out as a whisper. Who lives here? You'll see, Zuri replied. She knocked on the large wooden doors, which creaked open moments later, and there she stood, Abeni. But not the blind, broken girl he remembered. She was radiant, dressed in flowing fabrics, her posture graceful, her eyes bright with sight and power. Gaji stumbled back, nearly falling. He couldn't believe what he saw. This woman, strong, confident and unshaken, was the same girl he had once left in tears and darkness. Abeni's life had changed in ways no one could have imagined. After Koyi rescued her, he took her far from Oduma to a land filled with kindness and safety. There he introduced her to a native healer, an elder with deep knowledge and sacred power. The healer performed a rare ritual, and Abeni's world lit up. For the first time, she opened her eyes and saw the sky, the trees, the earth, and the face of the man who had saved her. Abeni and Koyi grew close. Like two flowers touched by the same rain, their love bloomed. They married and built a beautiful home filled with peace, laughter, and joy. Her world, once dark and cold, was now warm and alive. But on this day, as she stood in the doorway of her new life, the past came knocking. She heard his voice, and she knew him instantly. Gaji, she said, her tone icy and steady. Gaji dropped to his knees. Tears ran down his face like rivers bursting through a dam. Abeni, he cried, I've come to ask for your forgiveness. I've lived in torment for years. The spirits have punished me. Please, I beg you. Her eyes were sharp as flint. You left me shattered, she said slowly. Do you understand the pain you caused me? I do, Gaji sobbed. And I am truly sorry. I've been cursed ever since. I can't sleep, I can't breathe, I can't live. Abeni stood still, her heart a storm of emotions. Rage, sorrow, memory, peace. Finally, she spoke. Your sins are deep, she said, but I will listen. Gaji lowered his head, grateful to be heard, even if he didn't deserve it. Abeni stepped aside and let him into the mansion. They sat in the courtyard, spacious and serene, filled with the scent of flowers and the songs of birds. Koyi stood nearby, calm but watchful, his eyes never leaving Gaji. Still on his knees, Gaji continued to plead. "I have suffered for so long," he said. "My wives left me. My heart is empty. Please, Abeni, only your forgiveness can set me free." Abeni looked at him for a long time. Her face held sorrow, but behind it, strength like the mountain. "Gaji," she said softly, "your cruelty nearly destroyed me, but it also gave me 2 blessings." She clapped her hands gently. A moment later, 2 boys came running from inside the house. They were tall and handsome, their eyes sharp, their faces undeniably familiar. Gaji gasped. His breath caught in his chest. They are mine," he whispered, voice trembling. "Yes," Abeni said. "These are your sons." Gaji's lips quivered. "But they were raised by Koyi. He gave them the care you never could." The boys stood beside their mother, strong and silent, their eyes locked on the man who had hurt her. There was no hatred in their gaze, only the weight of knowing. Gaji wept, his hands shaking. "I never knew. I never imagined." "You didn't care to know," Abeni said firmly. "You left me with nothing, but I found everything." Gaji bowed his head to the ground. "I am sorry. I know I can never undo what I did. But please, let me be free." Abeni looked to the sky, where the clouds moved like whispers of the ancestors. Then she looked at her sons. Finally, she turned to Gaji. "I forgive you," she said. "Not for your sake, but for mine. I release the weight. I choose peace." Gaji broke into tears again, his shoulders shaking with relief. "But know this," Abeni added. "Forgiveness is not forgetting. My sons will know the truth, and so will you." Gaji nodded, still kneeling. "Thank you," he whispered. "May the spirits bless you." He rose slowly and walked away. He didn't ask for more. He didn't turn back. His curse had lifted, but so had Abeni's burden. As he disappeared down the path, Koyi stepped beside his wife. "You were strong today," he said gently. Abeni nodded. "I had to be." Their boys wrapped their arms around her. In that moment, Abeni knew she was whole. Their eyes studied him, curious but respectful. Gaji stretched out his hands, trembling. "My sons," he whispered. But Abeni gently raised her palm. Her voice was calm but firm. "I forgive you, Gaji," she said, "but you cannot be part of their lives." Gaji blinked, tears forming again. "They have grown up in a home filled with love and honor," she continued, "and I will not let your presence disturb that." Gaji bowed his head, his chest rising and falling with emotion. Though her words stung, they also freed him. "Thank you, Abeni," he said, voice cracking. "Your forgiveness is more than I deserve." He stood, his legs shaking under the weight of everything he had carried. Without another word, he turned to go. As he walked out into the sunlight, Koyi placed a hand on Abeni's shoulder. "You've done what many cannot," he said gently. Gaji made his way back to the spiritual healer, the old herbalist with the voice of the ancestors. When the old man saw him, he smiled knowingly. "The curse is gone," he said. "You are free to begin again." Gaji nodded slowly. For the first time in years, he felt light, like a bird whose wings had been returned. He returned to Oduma, the village of his youth, with a new heart and a new purpose. His first stop was the compound of Baba Miko, the father of Zuri. The old man, now hunched and gray, opened his door with surprise. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice cautious and steady. Gaji dropped to his knees. "I have come to ask your forgiveness," he said. "I wronged you and your daughter. I carry shame in my soul, and I am truly sorry." Baba Miko stared at him in silence, as if searching his heart with his eyes. At last he said, "If the spirits have touched your soul and changed it, who am I to cling to anger? You are forgiven." Gaji bowed deeply. Next, he went to the village square, where the elders gathered beneath the large iroko tree. There, before everyone, Gaji knelt and confessed all the wrongs he had done, every girl he had harmed, every soul he had hurt. He asked for forgiveness, and he vowed to protect the weak, to never again let evil walk freely. The elders sat in silence for a long time. Then one by one they stood. "You have carried darkness," one of them said, "but today we see light in your eyes." They laid their hands on his shoulders and gave him their blessing. A hush fell over the crowd. Gaji rose, not as the man he had been, but as someone reborn. Later that evening, he found Zuri near the stream, her feet in the cool water, her eyes watching the sky. He approached slowly. "Zuri," he said, his voice humble, "I have hurt you, deeply, but I am not the same man. I don't ask you to forget, only to let me prove I've changed. Will you give me a chance to do right by you?" Zuri looked at him quiet for a long time. She had watched his transformation from afar. She had seen the way he carried himself now, not with pride but with purpose. Finally she nodded. "Yes, Gaji," she said. "I believe in second chances." Their union was celebrated with songs and joy. The village, once silent at the mention of Gaji's name, now danced to the sound of his redemption. In time, Zuri gave birth to a baby girl, healthy and bright-eyed. The man once feared became the one the village looked to for strength. Gaji became the protector he had never been before. He walked the paths of Oduma with kindness, checking on the widows, helping the young boys learn the ways of men, ensuring the girls of the village were safe and respected. He became the voice that rose when others were silent, the hand that lifted instead of harmed. His life became a story the children whispered by firelight, a story of change, of falling deep, and rising again. The villagers no longer called him by the name of fear. They called him Ide, meaning, he who returned with light. And when Abeni heard of this, she smiled softly. She had chosen forgiveness, for herself, for her sons, and even for the man who once stole her peace. In time, Gaji, now Ide, found peace not only in the village but in his soul. He taught others that no one is too far gone, that even the blackest heart can be softened by truth, that pain can birth purpose, and so the one who once brought sorrow became a shield for joy.